Hi friends, my name is Baji. Welcome to our channel. In today's video, we will cover the topic of methods. First, we will look at what exactly a method means, and then we will discuss what are all the benefits that programmers can gain using the methods. And finally, we will look at different types of methods with some examples. If you are watching this performance testing must-have skill series for the first time, please watch the previous videos first and then continue this video. You can find the series playlist link in the description. So, without any further delay, let's get started. So, let's quickly open the Visual Studio Code and start making the notes. To save some time, I have already created a separate file with the name groovy-part8.groovy. So if you want to follow along, you can also create the same file or you can use any existing file. Just make sure that the file ends with .groovy extension. Okay. So what is a method? In programming, a method is a named block of code that performs a specific task or function. They are also known as functions or procedures in some programming languages. So some people will also call the method as function. Okay. So don't just confuse if somebody is calling method as function or function as method. Basically, methods are reusable and allowing developers to break down complex tasks into smaller so that they can manage the task more easily. Okay. Now let's discuss the different benefits that developers can gain using these methods. So the first one is modularity. So using methods, developers can break down their complex tasks into small parts. So this makes code easier to understand and also maintain. Okay. And the second benefit is reusability. Methods allow the same logic to be used across different parts of the program. For example, if we have a logic that needs to be used in multiple places, instead of copying the same code again and again in multiple places, create a separate method for that logic and that can be reused wherever it is needed. In programming, there is a principle called DRY, which means don't repeat yourself. So every developer will follow this principle. So they will try to avoid the repetitions in the program because the more repetitions will create difficulty to maintain the code. Okay. And the next benefit is abstraction. So with the help of methods, developers can abstract the implementation details so that they can focus on the method's purpose rather than the internal working. So these are not just only the benefits, there are many more, but I'm just focusing on few benefits to understand the concept. Now let's look at the different types of methods. Basically, methods are classified into two categories: built-in methods, user-defined methods. Now let's understand what exactly these built-in methods are. Okay. Basically, built-in methods are provided by the programming language or its libraries to perform some common tasks. So these built-in methods are readily available for use without the need of the programmer to define them explicitly. So that means every programming language has some built-in method which can help to perform some common tasks. So if somebody wants to perform that common task, instead of they write a separate logic, they can make use of these built-in methods. Okay, so let's look at one sample program to understand this concept. So first, let's try to declare a string variable and store some text like hello groovy. So to define a variable, we can use def keyword and the variable name here my string and store hello groovy. So using Groovy's built-in methods, we will try to convert this string into uppercase as well as lowercase. If they don't have a built-in method, then we need to write that logic to convert this string which is in a mixed case into uppercase as well as the lowercase, right? So with the help of built-in methods, we don't need to worry about that logic. We simply can make use of that method, so that will take care of the conversion from mixed case to uppercase or mixed case to lowercase. Okay, so once we convert that string, let's try to print that so that we can see the output. So let's try to println, and then we need to use the variable name where exactly the actual string is stored. So that is my string dot. Since this is a string related method, we should be using string variable dot the built-in method. To convert the string into uppercase, we should be using to uppercase opening and closing parenthesis. Similarly, if you want to convert the string into lowercase, then you should be using to lowercase. So let's quickly run this program to understand if we are getting the desired output. Okay, to run any program, we need to go to terminal and then type groovy space file name. Here the file name is groovy-part8.groovy. So in line number 60, we are trying to print the hello groovy into uppercase. See, here we got the output as hello groovy in uppercase, and in line number 17, we try to print the string into lowercase. So we got the expected output. Here the two uppercase and two lowercase are built-in methods, right? Even println is also a built-in method. It is trying to print the output onto screen, right? So here we are not writing any logic to display the output onto screen. We are just using the built-in method to do that common task. I hope you understand the concept of built-in methods. Let me know if anything is not clear. Okay. Now let's look at the user-defined methods. As name suggests, basically these methods are created by the programmer to perform some specific specific task within their program. So these methods are created to the needs of the program and can be customized to handle specific logic or operations. So based on the requirements, sometimes we may need to create some specific methods. So those methods are called as user defined methods, since we are the one defining those methods. Okay, there are different ways to define these methods in Groovy. So let's look at one by one. The first way of defining the method is without any parameters and arguments. So the syntax for defining a method without any parameters and argument is, first we need to use the keyword def and then the method name. It can be anything. Just make sure that you are giving a meaningful name, so that if somebody is using that method, they will understand the purpose of that method. For example, in the built-in method, we have a method called println. By seeing that method, we can understand it is trying to print something, right? Similarly, whenever you are creating a user-defined method, try to give a meaningful name instead of giving X, Y, A, B. Okay, so here we are trying to print Groovy. So let's name the method as print Groovy. After the method name, we need to give open and closing parentheses and then opening curly braces. And after that, we need to write the logic that we want to handle. In this example, we just wanted to print some message called hello Groovy onto the screen. So we can write println hello Groovy. Okay, so now let's try to run the program and then see what will happen. So nothing happened because we just created the method, but we did not use this method anywhere, right? I mean, we did not call this method. So until or unless you specifically call that method, nothing will happen. So the compiler created that method and it is readily available for use. Until or unless we call out that method, compiler will not do anything. So the way to call that method is we just need to write the name of the method, like in this case print Groovy and opening and closing parenthesis. Once Groovy sees this code, then it will look for any method with this name. Once it finds this method, then it will try to execute code defined inside that method. Okay, so let's rerun the same program. Now we are getting hello Groovy, because in print Groovy method we have a print line statement with hello Groovy. That is why it is printing the hello Groovy text. So this is one type of defining a user defined method. The second way is with parameters and arguments. So first we need to use the same def keyword and the method name. Here let's say the method name is greet and opening closing parenthesis. Inside that we will pass the parameters, okay, as name. So we want to create a method which will greet, like if somebody is using this method and if they pass their name, we will greet them, okay, saying hello and so name. Okay, we will use the def keyword and then space so that the method name within parenthesis the parameters. So here the name we call it as parameter. Okay, since this method is expecting name parameters, if somebody is trying to use this method, they need to make sure that they pass the name. Okay, and then we will use the opening curly braces and then we want to write the logic. So here we want to just simply print a message saying that hello name. So whatever the name that user is passing, it will say hello that name. So let's try to print ln hello and then name. Okay, now let's call this method with some example. Let's say Groovy. So here Groovy is argument. So we are passing one argument to this method. Whenever the compiler sees this method with this argument, then it will look for actual implementation of this method. So here we have created a method called greet, which will accept the name parameter, and then once it fulfills that condition, then it will go inside and it will try to print the hello with the passed name. So in this example we have passed as Groovy. So whenever the compiler execute this program, it will try to print hello Groovy. So let's run the program and see if we are getting the expected output. So we got the expected output. Since reusability is one of the benefit of this method, we can make use of this method as many times as we want. Okay, so instead of Groovy, let's say Java. So we want hello Java to be printed on the screen. So let's rerun the program. So here we are just only changing the argument. We did not change any logic, right? But we are getting the expected output. So this is the one of the benefit of methods. In this example, we just printed one basic thing, right? Now let's try to make use of the concept and perform some operations. Okay, so let's create a method called sum, which will take two numbers from users and then it will add those two numbers and print the result to the screen. Okay, so let's pass two parameters called a comma b. It can be anything, just I am naming the parameter names as a and b, and then opening curly braces, and then here we need to write the logic. So we want to print sum of these two numbers. So let's say println sum and a plus b. So plus is the addition operator that we are using here. So whatever the numbers that user is passing, we will sum those two numbers and print the results out to the screen. Okay, so let's try to call this function with two numbers. Let's say sum 10 comma 15. So whenever we execute the program, then Groovy will try to add these two numbers and will print the result like sum colon the output. Okay, so let's run the program. So here sum is 25. You can also pass different numbers. Let's say you want to pass 30 and 50. Let's see what is the output. We are still getting 80. So in your program, if you want to do some mathematical operation, you can create methods and then you can call those methods wherever you want. So what will happen if we are not passing any arguments? Let's rerun the program and then see what is the outcome of this execution. Now we are getting the exception. So it is telling that missing method exception, no signature of the method. So when we call the method without any arguments, then Groovy will try to look the method in the program with the signature. So that means it should look for any method without any parameters. So do we have any such kind of method available? If it is not able to find anything, then it will throw this missing method exception saying that no signature of the method found. So it did not find any method with this signature. So we have only one method with the signature which is expecting 2 arguments. So if we are not passing 2 arguments, then Groovy will not know anything. So to handle this situation, sometimes we can also define some default values. Instead of simply defining a comma b, we can also give some default values. Let's say a equal to 10 and b equal to 20. If the user passes some arguments, it will take those values, otherwise it will take the default values. Now let's try to pass some values first. Okay, let's say 5 and 3. Let's rerun the program. What will be the output? Will it come as 8 or will it come as 30? Let's see. Sum is 8 because the user passed the argument. So this will take the highest priority. For some reason, if the user is not passing the arguments, then it will take the default value. Okay, so let's delete these 2 values and then rerun the same program. So this time we did not get any exception because we have some default values available. So Groovy will check if the user passes any arguments. If so, it will take those arguments, otherwise it will use the default. Even we can pass one argument as well. Let's say you are passing as 6, then it will consider that 6 for one variable and the other variable it will use the default. So it will consider a as 6 and then b as 20. So the expected output will be 26. Okay. So far in all these examples, what we did was we called that method and method did some action and it completed there itself, right? But in some situations, we want the method to perform some operation, and once the operation is done, it should return the value back to the calling place. Let's look at some example to understand this concept. Let's create the same sum method here. So if sum a comma b with opening flower braces, and then instead of printing here, we will create another variable called total, and then we will add these 2 numbers. Once addition is done, we will return the total back. So return is the keyword. If you want to return back something to the calling location, then you should use the return keyword. Okay, so return keyword and the value that you are returning back to the calling method. Okay, so here we are adding 2 numbers and returning the total back to the calling method. So now let's create another variable called result and then store the value of these 2 numbers addition, because once we call this sum method in this type of example, it is returning the total back to the calling location right here. So when we call this sum method, it will call this method and it will add these 2 numbers and return the total back here. So once the total came back this position, then we need to store that total into a different variable. So this can be used for any other purposes. Okay, so once we have the result back, we can print that to the screen. So println result. Okay, let's rerun the program again. So here the output is 15 because we pass 5 and 10 to sum, and that sum will added those 2 numbers and store that into a total, and it returned the total back to the calling method, and that result is stored into a variable called result, and we are printing that result. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for staying till the end. I hope that was informative and you understood all the concept explained in this video. In case any specific concept is not clear or require more detailed information, please feel free to mention it in the comment section. All these notes have been uploaded in GitHub and you can find the link in the description. If you are new to our channel and found this information helpful, please consider subscribing our channel. If you liked what you saw today, please give this video a thumbs up. Your support means a lot to me. If any of your friends are interested in learning performance testing concepts, please share this series links to them so that they will learn all these concepts for free and get benefited. I'll see you with our next video in this module. Until then, take care, stay safe and keep learning.